Environmentalist lobby groups want the High Court to stop the City of Cape Town's Humud Phase 1 extension. They say the extension of the road will empty the Noordhoek wetlands of wildlife and lead to the extinction of the western leopard toad. For more on this, we're joined by ToadNuts spokesperson Alison Faraday. Alison, very good to have you with us this morning. Tell us about what you are concerned about here.
Yes, thank you so much for the time. We are a group of concerned residents and civic organisations trying to make sure that the local government and national government do what they're meant to do, which is protect the rights of the environment and give our residents a chance at a clean environment to live in. We're very concerned, especially for the western leopard toad, because this particular road, Humud, is going to basically wipe out 3 of the most important breeding ponds in that area.
All right, and what has the response been?
Well, they are opposing this, so we are going to High Court, and we just want to make sure that they do the right thing. You know, City of Cape Town is fighting all kinds of environmental battles, particularly to do with wetlands. I'm thinking of Milnerton and Zandvlei, where they've got pollution and litter issues. And we want to make sure that the Noordhoek wetland doesn't collapse and that it's here for many generations to come. One of our biggest concerns is for the Masipumalele residents, because with a road running through a wetland, you end up with the wetland beginning to collapse. And what that really looks like is the wetland is no longer able to recharge the aquifers, and you end up with flooding, and you end up with all kinds of damage happening to the residents, many of which live at the level of the wetland.
Remind us of why wetlands are so important.
Yes, thank you for that. It's an excellent question. Really what wetlands do is they provide a quiet service to a city. If you don't have a wetland, you end up with flooding. You end up with, during winter storms, all the water running out into the ocean. And then you end up with shoreline erosion and fish stocks starting to collapse because they end up being suffocated in their breeding areas. Aquifers need to be recharged as well, and particularly with a drought-orientated city as we are, we really need that water to hang around in the wetland and recharge the aquifers that are below the wetland so that we don't end up at a day zero scenario again. And of course, when you have a wetland that is collapsing, you end up with boggy patches of water where disease can breed. So we need our wetland to continue to do these quiet services for the city, and we want the City of Cape Town to acknowledge that wetlands are in fact essential to a functioning city. And by putting a road through it, that's really not the way to go.
So how vulnerable are these western leopard toads, and if we lose them, what impact will that have?
You know, that's an excellent question, and I get asked that a lot, especially when I talk at schools. The kiddies always say to me, what difference would it make if we lose the western leopard toad? Really, if you think about a food chain and a functioning ecosystem, you really just don't want holes to open up in that. And by losing an iconic animal and a very well-loved animal like the western leopard toad, you're going to end up with gaps in your food chain, and you end up with insects proliferating and all kinds of other problems. And of course, western leopard toads themselves are a food source for many birds and other animals that exist in our wetlands and in our nature environment. The western leopard toad is an endangered species, and as such, it should be afforded a lot more protection than it's really getting at this stage. We are a bunch of volunteers, and our name says it all, ToadNuts. We've been running around on the road since 2007, picking this beautiful animal up. They migrate down to ponds to breed. So they often walk down roads, and our volunteers are amazing at getting out on every rainy night, picking up the toads, carrying them off the road and making sure that they don't get run over. And because of our efforts, which stretch all the way through the South Peninsula, and there are other volunteer groups in the southern suburbs as well, the species has not become critically endangered. But we are very certain that if we continue to wipe our ponds, they will become critically endangered very soon.
Well, Alison Faraday, thank you very much for your good work, and I hope you are able to get your way. Time now to take a look